Hey, Hugh Taylor here, coming to you from my messy home office. And today we're going to return to a very popular topic on the channel, which is press release distribution. We've talked about it before. There's a lot of interest in this subject and a lot of misunderstanding about it as I deal with clients in the business. So I thought I would take a couple of minutes to give you 5 things you should know about press release distribution so you can get better public relations and be a more informed customer of services like mine or others. So first up, there are 3 ways to distribute a press release, in my view. There's probably other ways, but these are the 3 that really stand out in the industry. And it's really important to understand the differences between these methods because they have different prices and different outcomes. The first is what I call press release syndication. This is the lowest cost way to get your press release out into the world. And a good example is EIN Presswire, which we use, but there are other services like Marketers Media and others. They charge, whatever, around $100 maybe to put your press release out onto about 150 news sites. And I'll show you an example in a minute. Another way to distribute your press release is what I call a wire service. These are the major, news industry wire services. They are called wire services because they used to literally be telegraph wires back in the old days. But these are PR Newswire, Business Wire, Globe Newswire, Reuters. These are the major circuits. They get your press release fed to virtually all the major media outlets in the country and worldwide. Now, they're much more expensive, and they don't guarantee that you're going to get picked up, but your press release will at least be sent to them. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like in a minute. The third way is technically not a distribution service, but it's a distribution method, which is just to send your press release directly to reporters and producers. For example, using the Muck Rack service, which we offer. You can also subscribe to it yourself if you want to. Each of these has a different cost and a different potential result. And let me just show you what they look like. So EIN Presswire is a syndication service. So here's the press release. It's called Best-Selling Author Lindy Tardif Releases Debut Fiction Work. And just so you know, so this is what the press release looks like. Okay? It's here's the message, the headline, and the various supporting paragraphs and so forth, like we've talked about in other videos. So when we syndicate it through EIN, the client gets a report that looks like this, and it shows how it can be seen on Google News. And then it has a list of all the news sites that have picked this up. Now, this is an automated syndication process. EIN simply feeds it to these news sites, and they automatically pick it up by previous agreement. About 150 sites, also mostly small radio and TV stations. And so, for example, if you go to Fox 28 news site, this is a television station, here's the press release, what it looks like in the news. You see, there it is right there. In the there's links here. You can put links in them. You can have pictures and so forth. Now, PR Newswire, in contrast, and I'll give you an example here of how this works. So PR Newswire, which is a lot more expensive but has a much, much greater reach. So this is a press release we did on PR Newswire. It was Firework Token Debuts World's First Report on Crypto Volatility. So here's the document that we sent them. Okay. Now what happened was they send it out, PR Newswire sends it out to about 4,000 different publications, and they show this is the report that you get, and they show you here are the pickups. It's picked up by Market Watch, Markets Insider, a bunch of stations, and they say right here they sent it to the major AP outlets: C-SPAN, Fox News, CBS, New York Times, CNBC, and so forth. Now here's the important thing: these outlets did not pick up this news, but it was sent to them. It comes up like in a feed. Okay. However, the results were good for our clients' perspective. So here's what Markets Insider, Business Insider showed This was a pickup of the press release. You can see it's literally word for word. They picked up the press release with the links in it. Okay, and another publication, Irish Tech News, actually saw the press release on PR Newswire and wrote an article about it. And this is a really interesting distinction we're going to talk about in a minute. Now, Muckrack, just to show you the third option, is where you actually send your news to reporters. So this is the Muckrack interface, and it's a gigantic database of reporters. So and you can search. So for example, let's say we're going to search on the beat finance, the finance beat, business and finance, and we say we want to see people with cryptocurrency, people who've written about cryptocurrency. Okay, and we can choose our location if we want. We'll just do search, and then Muckrack has this very big and up-to-date database of reporters, and now it's searching. And here it has 493 people who have written about this issue, and here they are. And so for each of these people, different publications, so here's like, CoIntelGraph, Freelance Cryptocurrency, Crypto Slate, you can actually use this to send your press release. You can email your press release to these reporters through the Muckrack service, and they will hopefully see the email and they may write about you. Now, there's no guarantee that they're going to write about you, but this is a way to distribute your press release directly to reporters who are interested in it. So those are your three basic ways to distribute a press release. Now, which one is right for you? You have to figure out your goals. What are you trying to accomplish? And the question is on two levels. What are you trying to accomplish at a business level, and what are you trying to accomplish at a marketing level? Because a press release should serve a business and marketing purpose. If it doesn't, you should ask why you're doing it. Because one thing I always tell people, maybe you don't need to do a press release. And you think, like, why am I asking you this? Or don't I make money by writing press releases? Yes. I make money by writing press releases and distributing press releases. But I make more money, I think, if I give you some honest advice on what you really need, and then you work with me when you need me. And if you don't need me, you don't work with me. Everything works out a lot better that way. Unfortunately, in this industry, there's a lot of hustle going on. And you see ads saying, get on TV or be on Fox News. Sometimes these people are not being completely straight with you. Let's just say it that way. So you got to align your distribution choice with your goals. Are you trying to do search engine optimization? Press release syndication is very helpful for search engine optimization, but it doesn't get you onto major news sites. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings I have to try and correct in my daily discussions with clients and prospects. People say, hey, if you put my press release on AI and PressWire, will I get into the Wall Street Journal? The answer is no, you're not going to get into Wall Street Journal on EIN PressWire. And you probably can't get into the Wall Street Journal on PR Newswire, but at least they'll see it. Someone at the Wall Street Journal will probably see your press release. If you want to get pickups on a major news site like MarketWatch, you need to use one of the major wire services like PR Newswire or Reuters. If you want an actual article mentioning you in the press, you're most likely going to have to send your press release and news directly to reporters, which is the most difficult approach, but it's really the only way to get a reporter to write an article about you. Now, I did show you an example of the Irish Tech Times writing about Firework Token off of a press release on PR Newswire. So it does happen, but it is not guaranteed at all. Number 3, understand the process and what's possible. So this is a little bit like we were just talking about, just going a little further. You should understand what happens to your press release when you syndicate it, put it on the wire, or send it to reporters directly. When you syndicate, as I said, it's an automatic mechanical process by digital means. Literally within a few minutes, your press release is automatically republished on about 150 news sites. When you put your press release on the wire, through like a PR newswire, it goes out to about 4,000 or 5,000 publications, major publications, some of them the biggest news outlets in the world. It goes to them and they see it on some kind of feed, or the reporters get emails saying here are some recent press releases in your category. When you send your press release to reporters directly through Muckrack or Cision or one of these other services, the reporter will get an email directly with your press release in it. Now, what you have to understand is that reporters often get many press releases like this every day, and some of them actually are kind of irritated by it, to which I politely suggest they take their name off the database if they don't want to get them. But it's one of those weird tugs of war that you get with people. Like, they're like, oh, stop bothering me. But, well, if you don't want to get the press release, don't put your name in the database. Anyway, what we try to do when we work with you on media outreach, this process, we try to find relevance. We try to find reporters who we think are interested in hearing your news. Each process has its own limitations, and this is a reality of public relations. There's no guarantee of success, and this is the reason I mention this, is that there are public relations companies that will tell you that they can guarantee you results, and I would be skeptical of that. Because you're dealing with the press. Reporters often don't want to write about your news. It's just reality. That's one of the reasons why we work with you to try and figure out how to make your story interesting. That's part of the process. Get it interesting to reporters, then they'll write about you. Number 4, understand the difference between a press release pickup and press coverage. And I just want to go back to this example of Firework Token to illustrate that point again. A pickup, that's the term that we use in the PR field, is when a publication simply takes your press release and publishes it verbatim on their site. This is what happened. The Firework Token press release, this is literally word for word what went out on PR Newswire. And this happened probably through some kind of semi-mechanical process, like an editor probably saw the press release and clicked on some button and it got pulled into their site and it was published. Okay, this can be great. You're getting on Markets Insider. That's what they wanted. Now the only difference is that there's no interpretation. There's no reporter's name on this, right? In contrast, this is an article. This is an actual article written by a real reporter named Shane Leonard, who saw the press release on PR Newswire. He sent me an email with some questions. We answered the questions, and then he turned around and published this article. Now, it has a lot of the same wording from the press release, but it's an original article. And the distinction may be helpful, may be important to you from a marketing perspective. An article being written like this is more validating of your business, in my opinion, because it shows that a major media outlet has actually taken the time to pay attention to you and tell your story. Number 5, don't distribute if you don't have a reason. Now, again, you're saying, hey, why would I tell you this? Well, I'm telling you this because I'd like you to be successful, whether you work with me or not. I think if I can make you successful, then you'll work with me. If there's no reason to work with you on this, then let's not do it because it's just wasting your money. And this is something that honestly gets me kind of irritated with some of the companies in my industry, that they're often pushing a press release distribution service in a misleading way. And I don't think they're helping anybody, including themselves. Distribution can be expensive, but it's a great investment in marketing if you have a reason to do it. And one of the things I mean by that is, if you do distribution, use it. If you get press release pickups, put them on your website, share them on social media, make it part of your marketing mix, give them to your sales team. Make use of them when you've had success in distribution. And remember, not every press release needs to be distributed. So, for example, there's some companies that will do a press release every 2 weeks announcing all kinds of, minor news items. They don't all have to be distributed. They can go on the website. They can be sent out to company mailing lists or whatever. But they don't have to go out on distribution service. And once again, be careful about services that overpromise. And finally, we can help. If you want us to help you with distribution, we can help. And if you click below, there's a special offer for here. I'm going to hustle you. But this is a real offer. Special offer. Click below, and you can get a real bargain on your first press release distribution with us. Come visit us at commsfactory.net and see how we can help you. Thanks.